Oh! Have we got the
Patreon?
Yes! We've got a
Patreon.
Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers!
Hello interwebs, it's Scott from Admiralty Entertainment, and today we're taking a look at the Power Rangers Lightning Collection Mighty Morphin White Ranger from Hasbro. The Power Rangers franchise kicked off in 1993 with the debut of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, a TV series that took action sequences from Japanese Super Sentai shows, dubbed them, created brand new wraparound footage to repackage them all for American audiences, and subsequently proceeded to become a global phenomenon. As at the time of recording, it's been going for over 26 years through more than 20 different incarnations, although it's arguably the initial Mighty Morphin incarnation that remains the most iconic. Ironically, despite the series having been shot here in New Zealand since Power Rangers Ninja Storm in the early 2000s, there's been little merchandising presence in the country since the show was pulled off the air in the early 90s following complaints about the, finger quotes, violence shortly after it started showing here. Having said that, no sooner have I recorded the majority of this episode when I go on a toy hunt and discover that Power Ranger toys are back on New Zealand shelves. Synchronicity, folks. The Mighty Morphin White Ranger is the second of the, thus far, 5 different Power Ranger forms of Tommy Oliver, as portrayed by Jason David Frank. Introduced during the second season of the show following the loss of his powers as the Green Ranger, the White Ranger would become team leader and form another prominent chapter in the history of possibly the most notable singular character in the entire franchise. The Lightning Collection is Hasbro's first major foray into Power Rangers merchandise after having bought the franchise in mid-2018 for about $500 million. Looking at the packaging, there are a lot of similarities to other Hasbro 6-inch lines like Overwatch Ultimates and Star Wars The Black Series. The predominantly white box has a large window to view the figure and accessories, with a Lightning Collection logo and character nameplate at the bottom. A stylized illustration of the White Ranger can be seen to the right of the window, and this spills around to the side. The opposite side has a truncated version of the same illustration, while the top of the box has a solid colour, and the back of the box has a product shot. And that's it. If you're looking for biographical information, you're going to need to wiki it, because this box ain't going to help you any. Likewise, there's no instructions either on the box or inside it, so you're going to have to figure out what to do with this figure and accessories on your own. Out of the box, Tommy comes with an unmasked head, 2 alternate hands, Saba, the White Ranger's sword, and a blast effect. Saba, the White Ranger's talking tiger sword, is present and accounted for, and has a good level of both sculpted and painted detailing. It can be held in the grasping right hand once you've been able to prise it open. I recommend heating the hand rather than risking breaking it, as it is a very solid piece. Otherwise, it can be stored in the functional holster, which holds Saba nice and securely while still allowing easy access. Between the 2 closed fists, the chopping left hand and the grasping right hand capable of holding Saba, it feels like there's plenty of options here for gesticulation. Swapping out hands is straightforward, but not necessarily easy. The effort required to remove or install the hands does make me worry for the long-term health of the pegs on the hands themselves. Pull out the old ones, and push in the new. The additional unhelmeted head of Tommy Oliver has a good likeness, though the expression chosen seems perhaps a little bit stilted or lifeless, or otherwise needlessly dour for my money. Swapping out the helmeted head for this unmasked version is, like the hands, a bit more difficult than I'd personally prefer, but is achieved with the usual pop-off, pop-on action. The helmet certainly looks good as a prop for him to hold while the human head is in place. There's also a blast effect piece included, which can attach to Saba's blade. I tend to think that it looks a bit out of place due to the relatively large size and blue colour, but of course, given my limited exposure to Power Rangers, this could be entirely screen accurate from an iconic moment and I wouldn't have the first clue. Articulation-wise, clearly a lot of lessons from other Hasbro lines have been applied here. The head is on a good ball joint, providing plenty of expressiveness even before swapping the head over. The shoulders have a butterfly joint nicely concealed by the armour, along with the standard Hasbro hinge and swivel, though the shoulder armour does provide some impediments to movement, rather like the real costume I'd imagine. There's a twist at the top of the bicep, double jointed elbows, a twist at the wrist, with the hands having hinge joints built into them on all alternates. There's an ab crunch, and a diaphragm joint that's largely concealed by the chest armour. Hips have the usual ball joint, along with a swivel at the top of the thigh, double jointed knees, a twist at the top of the boot, and hinged rocker ankles. All up, it's plenty of articulation to get Tommy into pretty much any action pose he might possibly need, and doesn't interfere with the sculpt. Speaking of sculpt... No, I said sculpt, not skull. There's plenty of detail included here, both obvious and more obscure. The body has plenty of fabric folds and wrinkles, giving it a reality that many previous Power Rangers figures have missed. Likewise, the armour details are precise and look good. The stature of the figure follow more realistic proportions in the same way that Marvel Legends MCU figures are built more realistically than their combat-inspired counterparts, and that works really well here. The paintwork is sharp, helped considerably by in-colour moulding for the majority of the body, with solid blacks and vibrant gold paint for the accent colours. Overall, the colour palette provides a clear, distinct look, and that's translated well into this figure. Given that I'm not a Power Rangers expert, I really can't say if it's entirely screen accurate, but it certainly seems to capture my impression of how the character should look. Scale-wise, the White Ranger seems to work out okay with MCU Marvel Legends or Black Series Star Wars figures. Comics-based Marvel Legends and DC Multiverse figures, even the media-based ones, just seem too large in comparison. Though you could try to argue that the Power Rangers are supposed to be teens anyway, right? I don't think that argument really works, but hey, they're your figures, do what you want with them. Certainly recreating the Power Rangers TMNT crossover is going to require a fair bit of scale fudging. All things considered, this is a good fun action figure. There's plenty of posability built in, and a number of options for either play or display. Scaling with other Hasbro realistic scaled figures is a nice bonus, and even the flaws, difficulty in swapping hands and head, a smidge hindered articulation, and the underwhelming blast effect, are relatively minor. Hardcore fans will surely view this as a must-have, but even if you're not that into the whole Power Rangers franchise, the Mighty Morphin White Ranger is a well-executed figure of a distinct-looking character that's affordable, accessible, and just plain looks good. While it's not necessarily a complete home run from an ease-of-use perspective, I can't see anyone regretting picking this guy up. So, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next Morphin' Time on Admiralty Entertainment.